All right, sorry about that. I got cut off yesterday. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you look into if you're the type of person that likes looking into the starseed stuff, that took me down some cool roads back when I thought I was, a starseed and all that shit. I still think I am. We're made up of stardust. We're made up of starseeds. We all have Taurus in us. We all have the Pleiadian star system within our chart, probably somewhere. It's all part of us. We are made up of carbon and all those other fucking things that I can't remember the names of right now. That's all within our makeup. We are this fucking big mishmash. But guess what? We have something we call the reptilian mind as well. Now, this is part of your ego. This is part of all that shit. Now, does that mean we're part reptilian? Well, absolutely. As much as no one will fucking say this to you, those reptilians that attacked us Pleiadians, or that have been taking over this earth, are part of you too. Just like Pleiadians are, Syrians are, fucking, I don't know, all the other planets that they talk about. It's all part of you. It's all part of you. Probably another way of conceptualizing, probably just the old, beautiful art of fucking, astrology, putting a bunch of planets out there, maybe that are more relevant than the ones anymore today. But you can look at all these planets the same way as, are you from this, are you from there, are you from there? But it doesn't, you're gonna get the same knowledge within your chart. And like, if you have an aversion to the Romans and Catholicism, anything that has to do with the Roman Catholic Church, sometimes people don't like using the Roman names for the planets, and I can be down with that. I can understand that. So I like using them because I don't really give a shit anymore about all that. I know there's power in words. The word is power. We can speak things into existence because what you say has a vibration, a resonance, a tone, and that eventually comes into being. Because at the end of the day, you can look at different creation stories, Bible or otherwise, even Sumerian, whatever, but they all start off similar. Whatever created this bitch, whether it's alien, whether it's religion, whether it's mystical, whether it's mythical, the word was with the creator, and the creator was the word, and things were spoken into existence, and then something had to perceive what it was spoken, what was said, and then naming it is part of that as well. Like, if you have a problem, should have dropped my fucking camera. If you got a problem, drug, whatever, you can deny it, you can let it creep up, but it's there. But the minute you identify it and say, I'm an addict, I'm a gambler, I'm a compulsive shopper, whatever it is, the minute you name it, it's real. It's real. It's fucking real now. Then you got a label. You're labeled. If people find out that you are this, before that you can deny it, people will look at you a certain way. The minute someone finds out the reason you're late all the times at work is because it's not because you have 4 kids and your fucking life is kind of crazy just because of that. It's actually because you're an addict. Everybody's gonna look at you a whole different way. Before it was like, compassionate dad, loves his children more than his job, just gotta do what he's gotta do. The minute they find out you're an addict instead of fucking just a good father, boom, that whole paradigm shifts from people giving you sympathy to people probably not giving you as much sympathy. Maybe some still might, especially anybody who's been affected by an addict in the family. They might understand a little bit, but no. Because now there's a name associated with you that has a vibration that's low, that no one fucking likes and thinks it's your own fucking fault and whatever. People are starting to come around believing addiction is a mental illness per se, and I wouldn't necessarily call it a mental illness, but I do like that line of thinking, and Russell Brand has done a lot for trying to get that kind of awareness out there, because there are people that are the same out there that are more affected and tend to gravitate towards drugs. Like I said before, I'm not the type that had I wasn't abused by my parents. I wasn't in poverty and around a bunch of people doing drugs and shit like that, yet I had this gravitational pull to wanting to do different drugs. I don't know why. To this day, it's something I gotta fight off. I don't know why. There's just something about opening up my mind and feeling a different way that helps me, that I liked. I don't know how to explain it any better than that, but there's something about it that I really I gravitated towards. I was one of those people, and thank God I got Jupiter in the 12th house, because Jupiter in the 12th house is quote unquote a protection. Now, certain people, they start doing drugs, drinking, whatever, they go overboard, and it could swallow their life whole. Well, when you have Jupiter in, sorry, not in the 12th house, I have Jupiter in the 11th house. When you have Jupiter in Pisces, I have Jupiter in Pisces, he protects you. Yes, you have this ability to do drugs and want to do drugs and, you know, experiment with drugs, but it doesn't swallow you whole. And having Jupiter in the 11th house means you make a lot of money, so that's probably important. It means you have some type of control over habits. And it doesn't always have to be drugs, but, you know, that's one of the big ones. So, and, you know, this can play into the whole being an empath and taking on people's energy. And, you know, because if I'm around people and they're having a bad day, well, I'm taking that on as my own. You know what I mean? Not so much now anymore, because I know how to fucking deal with it. But up until 3 years ago, yeah, I can be around people, and if they're having a bad day, now I'm having a bad day. I don't want to go out anywhere. This shit got worse 3 years ago. And then it finally opened my mind, and my body revealed it to me why this happened. You know what I mean? But 3 years ago, well, maybe 4 years ago, when I was still working at the same place where my mom works, I was, you know, anybody I talked to, if they were having a shitty day, I didn't even know I had to, but I started telling people, certain people, well, one guy in particular, that I couldn't hang out with him anymore because he was always negative. And likewise, when he was negative, I was negative. So I had to stop fucking being around him. You know, and that eventually led to me losing the job, because then he didn't like me anymore and started doing things to piss me off. And I'm not the type to just let someone do stuff to me and look like a bitch. So I called him out, calling him a bitch, and, you know, ultimately got fired. But that's besides the fucking point. Well, I didn't get fired for that, but because they couldn't prove that, or maybe they could, who knows? You never get the whole side of the story. But generally what I'm trying to say is, Jesus, I don't know, I went on a tangent there. Oh yeah. I didn't have the bad, I didn't have a bad upbringing and all that to want to have to do drugs to just escape, you know what I mean? So between the whole taking on people's empathic, feeling what other people feel, being maybe anxious out in crowds, well, fucking alcohol, opiates, even cocaine at first, you know, and different amphetamines, take that edge off when you go out into public, if you have some kind of issue with going out into public. So that's one way you can look at maybe why I started liking doing drugs and liking that feeling, because when I'm my normal self, it's harder for me to go out in public, you know. And now that I'm aware of energy and shit like that, and I'm aware of I don't want to destroy my body either, you know, it's a whole different, now it's like, it's hard to explain, but before I didn't want to destroy my body, but yet that ability would still rule me, would still want me to do the drugs instead. It's worth it, you know. Now I can use that to talk myself out of it, because, you know, Tom McDonald says it pretty good in the song Sober, fighting demons and I know I'll win. How's long ago now? This is a fight that I'll fight forever. And he's talking about addiction, and he's not wrong. I don't think there's a certain point where you just fucking are over it, because you always have, unless you can get rid of the experience out of your mind, you're always going to have the experience within you telling you, yeah, your day could be better if you got high. You know what I mean? And that's the shitty part. That's in your mind. That's there forever. How do you get rid of that? You don't. You got to replace that with something else, better, something that allows you to sacrifice the present moment. You know, getting high, having a good day now, you got to sacrifice. You got to say, no, it's not worth it, me getting high now and not having money later, or me getting high now and fucking up my body later, or me getting high now and getting pulled into addiction again later. You know what I mean? That comes along, but you still have to get to that place. You still have to fight that. I don't know why I'm talking about this. I was talking about the Palladians. Now I'm on the drugs and giving a fucking public service announcement in front of my methadone clinic of all fucking places. Jesus Christ, I'm not on methadone, I'm on Suboxone. But still, I think there's a lot of people fighting with this shit, you know. And I think it's important to talk about stuff like that once in a while too, about addiction, because there's a lot of people suffering from addiction. And like I said, there's a certain aspect of it that is mental, that, you know, so other people can't understand because they don't have that wanting to do drugs, where there's other people that do. And maybe it is programmed into us. Maybe there's certain movies you watch as a kid that make this more likely to happen. I don't think so, because my wife has watched a lot of same movies as me, same as my mom probably. And my mom, you know, besides marijuana, I don't think has ever done any kind of drugs. Same with my wife. She's never done anything besides marijuana. And both my mom and my wife don't even drink all that much. They'll have a drink here and there, and it's more the idea of drinking that appeals to them. But once they start drinking, they don't even have much, you know. Maybe my mom a little more now that she's, you know, getting close to retirement and shit like that. But still, you know, point is, certain people aren't drawn to that, and some are, you know, two different polarities there. And then you have people in the middle that have done some things and cannot do it. Some people that have done some things and got hooked on one thing and fucked their whole life up. So I think Russell Brand, actor, is right when he talks about how there's certain people that can do drugs and be okay, and there's other people that if they touch a certain substance, they're done. And there's a lot of people like that, and there has to be an awareness out there for those people to not try these things. I mean, I was taught about opiates in school, but I had no idea when I touched fucking Percocet, fentanyl, hydromorphine the first time that if I did this too many days in a row, I'd be fucked for the next fucking, holy fuck, it's been like 15 years now probably. I don't even know, 10 years at least. I didn't know that. I had no fucking idea. And maybe that would have swayed my mind a bit, you know? Maybe. Who knows? Might not have. Might have said, fuck it, who cares? You know, pop it anyways. But I didn't know that. You know, I remember my back being sore like 14 days in a row and not feeling like myself. Like, what the fuck's going on? When I talked to some of the guys that, you know, I was getting a bunch of Percocets and selling them. He's like, oh, you're probably going through withdrawal. What? Withdrawal? What the fuck? What do you mean? Well, it's an opiate. It's like heroin, man. Like, you're going to go through withdrawal. That's part of the fucking, boom, done. From that point on, I knew if I didn't have this shit, I was going into automatic withdrawal, and I was fucked, you know? And that was the worst thing ever. And over the next fucking, 3 years until I fucking decided I needed to make a change and went and signed up at the clinic and then got on Suboxone, which has an opiate blocker in it, so I can't do opiates even if I wanted to now, but I don't even crave it anymore because it's fucking connecting the part of my brain where the opiates want to go with naloxone or Narcan or whatever's in there. No, I don't even want to do that shit, but you know what I mean? And it doesn't have, you know, I don't have a reduction in testosterone like you do with methadone, and methadone is, it's got opiates in it. It's an opiate still, and I'm not dissing fucking methadone. Most people can't, if they did really, 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 really hard drugs, they can't get through the first 3 days on Suboxone, because the first 3 days of Suboxone has to, you have to be able to suffer a little bit, because if you've been doing something really strong like methadone or like, fentanyl, or even that new carfentanil that'll fucking kill you, you're gonna have 3 days of a little bit of back pain and stuff. You're gonna have withdrawal symptoms, but on a very minor scale. But a lot of people can't get through that. They'll say, I'll try Suboxone, but then they end up going to the methadone, and you know, who am I to judge, man? Mine was doable. I was able to go through those 3 days. The first day was a little rough. The next day wasn't so bad. By the third day, I was okay. And then the doctor upped my fucking dose anyways to another pill. You know, then I didn't feel a fucking thing. So, so if you are someone struggling with drug addiction or the like, any of this, you know, reach out to me. Talk to me. I'll talk to you about it. I like doing that. I like talking to people who are trying to make a positive change in their life, especially if they're in spiritual. I think we're made for this stuff. I really do. I think there's something linked there with people who have drug addiction problems and spirituality. I honest to God think there's something there, because I know a lot of addicts that don't find it a very fucking far jump to spirituality, to meditation, to opening your eyes, to a lot of this shit. It's not a high jump. It's not a far a leap. A lot of people get into this stuff when they leave it. It's one of those things that, like, look at Russell Brand, you know what I mean? He's a prime example of that. And he says it probably better than I can. If it wasn't for this shit, you know, I wouldn't have something I'd want to wake up for, to do more than you know, the need to get high or want to get high, you know, because working for a paycheck and all that shit, you know, it's not, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not unnoble. And maybe it is part of the whole YouTube programming us to fucking not want to do that anymore.